Hello and welcome to the Run Testers. My name's Nick and this is our first run review of the Brooks Hyperion Max 2. So the Hyperion Max 2 is the update to the Hyperion Max, and as you can see, a lot of updates have been made to the shoe. It's a much higher stack height and some other changes have been made in general, and the price has also risen a little bit in the US. It's now $180, where it was $170 for the Hyperion Max. Don't have the UK price as yet, so we're not sure if it's going to stay at £160. The weight's gone up a fair bit. It's now 271 grams or 9.6 ounces, whereas the Hyperion Max was around 220 grams, and that's because the stack height's risen considerably. It's now 36 millimeters at the heel and 30 at the forefoot for a 6mm drop. So you've got a slightly lower drop and then a higher stack height all round than the Hyperion Max. The stack has risen 6mm at the forefoot and 4mm at the heel. And the Hyperion Max 2 is also a fair bit wider, which is why the weight has jumped so much. The midsole foam has also been updated to the second version of Brooks's DNA Flash, which is meant to give you a little bit more energy return and be a bit lighter than the DNA Flash V1 on the Hyperion Max. It is a nitrogen-infused EVA foam, which is mostly lightweight and quite poppy, but not necessarily as squishy and bouncy as some of the other super foams on the market. You have a plastic speed vault plate running through the shoe, which you can see from the bottom there. And the Hyperion Max 2 has the rapid roll rocker that you also had on the original Hyperion Max. Now, this is often what differentiates the Max shoes in Brooks's lineup from the non-Max shoes, so the Ghost to the Ghost Max and the Hyperion to the Hyperion Max. They're more rockered shoes, as well as now having a bit more foam. You have a lightweight mesh upper with quite a high heel tab at the back here. There's a little bit of padding there, but mostly it's quite a lightweight, breathable material with a partially gusted tongue as well that wraps the midfoot quite nicely. Then you've got pretty good outsole coverage. Obviously the cutout in the centre of the shoe there, but the forefoot and heel are both quite well covered with what is quite a thick layer of rubber. So I've got a UK 9, which is a US 10 in the Brooks Hyperion Max 2, which is the size I nearly always go for with Brooks's shoes, and it fits me very well. I've got enough room in the toe box, good hold around the heel and midfoot. This high heel tab at the back of the shoe was a little bit worrying for me as someone whose Achilles can be irritated by shoes, but I didn't have any problems with that on the run today. It's not too structured around the back. There is an internal heel counter, but it's not as rigid as some of the ones on Brooks's kind of more cushioned shoes like the Ghost. Overall, the fit was similar to me to the original Hyperion, which is a little bit narrower, but I didn't have any problems with the width of this shoe as someone who has a narrow foot. So yeah, I would stick to your normal running shoe size with the Brooks Hyperion Max 2. So I took the Hyperion Max 2 out for a run earlier this morning. It's a nice warm day here in the UK, so I went out a bit earlier and I did an easy to steady 45 minutes, a little bit of trail at the start, but mostly on the road, working from kind of around 4:30 per k pace down towards 3:40 per k pace at the end. So not hitting my race paces, but moving towards a good effort for the last 15 minutes or so. And it was enjoyable for this. Like, this very much feels like the kind of run this shoe is very well suited for, and as a result, it would suit me quite well as a runner. I do quite a lot of these kind of mini progression runs throughout the week, especially when marathon training, longer runs with a bit of faster effort towards the end, and it feels very good for that. Compared to the original Hyperion Max, the rocker is a lot more pronounced, and I think that's largely because there's just a lot more foam to work with here. I don't know if they've made it steeper or anything like that, but I really felt that tip forward at easy paces and fast paces more noticeably, and the depth of the foam is also quite noticeable. It's not like you're sinking in a lot to this DNA Flash V2 foam, but it does feel like a bigger shoe and there's more foam beneath you than with the Hyperion Max original, which adds to the comfort and the general kind of protective feeling of the shoe, and especially under the forefoot it is a little bit more comfortable. It's not as nimble as the Hyperion Max used to feel, but it feels much more like a cruiser, a daily trainer now that is more suitable for racking up more miles in and just general easy steady miles as well as being for faster stuff. It is a fair bit heavier than the Hyperion Max obviously, and it does lose, like I say, some of that nimbleness, that agility, but it doesn't really feel that heavy on the foot. I think the DNA Flash foam always feels quite lightweight to me because it is that slightly firmer feeling. It has quite a poppy, lightweight feel to it, and the shoe has a nice rocker and it moves through the foot strike quite nicely. And so yeah, it's not the lightest shoe in the world, but it's certainly not at all a heavy shoe. It's one that feels pretty comfortable at speed whilst now having that extra cushion for more easy paces. So after I got back, I did a short run wearing both shoes, and it does feel quite different. I remember testing the Hyperion Max thinking this is quite a nice little daily trainer. If you like a firmer feel, you don't need a really cushioned shoe, you can do a bit of everything in the Hyperion Max. And now, in contrast to this looks like just like an interval shoe to me. It feels so lightweight and nimble on the foot, and it is, of these two shoes, the one I would use if I was going down the track or going to do kind of a session of 60 seconds on, 30 seconds off, that kind of thing. It's got that nimble feel, but for everything else, the extra comfort you get here is certainly noticeable with the Hyperion Max 2, and for rolling at tempo pace or doing long runs with hard sections in or just doing easy running, it would be the preferable shoe because the extra stack height is certainly felt on the run, and it does make it feel more comfortable, and the slightly lower drop as well I think smooths it out a little bit. I had a little bit of a kind of snap through with the original Brooks Hyperion Max despite the rocker on it, and over longer distances I get a little bit of forefoot discomfort. It's just not going to happen here anymore with 30mm of foam underfoot and that rocker and the slightly lower drop. So I do think it's definitely increased the comfort of the shoe a lot and made it much more of a daily trainer that will be more suitable for lots of people. I'm sure there are some people out there who would love this as a daily trainer, the original Hyperion Max, and don't want all the extra foam and stuff you have here, but I think this is now more in line with what the expectation of a daily trainer looks like these days, and it certainly has those properties of a super shoe with the plate in there and the kind of fast feeling you have that make it a very versatile shoe for a range of paces, even if I think at the actual top end of speed I'd rather be in the Brooks Hyperion Max original because it is so much lighter and nimbler. So very, very early impression of the shoe, but it does feel like a good, versatile daily trainer here in the mould of lots of shoes these days where you've got some kind of super foam in there, a plate, a rocker in a fairly lightweight design that makes it suitable for a nice wide range of paces. As mentioned in the run test, this is a shoe that would suit me very well when I'm doing marathon training and I'm doing not a lot of very all-out sessions where I would probably go and use a carbon plate shoe or a dedicated lightweight speed shoe. This is a really good option for when you're doing lots of longish runs and inserting an element of speed into quite a lot of them, even if they're not actually really fast runs, but those kind of easy to steady progressions, that kind of thing. It works really well for them. It's got a protective feel to it. It's got the range of paces there, and yeah, it feels quite comfortable and suited to those. I also think it defines the Brooks range a little bit better now because the Hyperion Max and the Hyperion were quite similar. You had a little bit more of a rocker on this shoe, but really they felt like quite similar shoes to me and occupied the same space as lightweight, relatively low stack, daily trainer, nice simple shoes without plates or anything like that. You still have that with the Brooks Hyperion, and now you have the kind of now classic super trainer option with a plate, with a higher stack, with a big rocker, more foam, everything underfoot like that with the Hyperion Max too. So I think you now have those kind of three steps in the Hyperion range, from the Hyperion to the Hyperion Max and then the Hyperion Elite. Obviously, in doing this, the Hyperion Max 2 now enters one of the most competitive areas of the running shoe market though, and there are some of the very best shoes in the market out there that are coming in actually at the same price or cheaper, and the price I think is a little bit of a problem for the Brooks Hyperion Max 2 because it does the job of a super trainer, it does it pretty well, but my early impression is that it lacks some of the spark you get from some of the best shoes in this area, things like the Endorphin Speed 4, which has better foam underfoot, that really good speed roll rocker is a lighter design as well. The Mizuno Neo Vista, which is very bouncy, very fun to run in, more cushy, more stacked than this shoe for kind of general daily runs. Even the Asics Superplus isn't that much more expensive than this shoe, which delivers a better all-round experience. Adidas Boston is a lot cheaper, and that's another really good versatile super trainer. So, you're going up against some really big name shoes here that I really think are among the best on the market, and that's going to make it hard for the Hyperion Max 2 to really stand out because I still don't think Brooks's foam is really at the level of some of those other brands, but it was an enjoyable first run today. There's no firm conclusions on how it compares to those other shoes just yet. I will go and do some more running in it, but yeah, I think this is a move that makes sense for Brooks. I think it's a solid shoe that runners will be able to rack up a lot of miles in, but it's got a very high price tag, and I'm not sure it's necessarily going to live up to that, but it was a good first run in it today. That's our first take on the Brooks Hyperion Max 2. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Please do like and subscribe, ring the little bell, and we'll see you next time.